it's time to get things. Today I'm going to be teaching you guys on calculus. Calculus is divided into two branches, which is differentiation and what? Integration. But I'll be starting with what? Differentiation. Now, for the sake of WAEC and GEM students, I'll be going straight towards the point and jump what? The first principle of what? Differentiation or derivation. Now, before we go further, I want you to also note this, that another name for differentiation is derivative. Okay, so sometimes when they ask you find differentiation, instead of you saying differentiation, you can see the word derivative. So they are simply what? Telling you to find the same thing. Okay, now let's go straight to what? The rules of what? Differentiation. Basically, we have close to 6 rules, but for the sake of JAM and WAEC, we focus on the 3 rules which concern them, which is what? Chain rule, product rule, and what? Quotient rule. Now, chain rule, if your y is a function of what? Z, and z is a function of x, the formula is what? Dy dx is equals to dy all over what? dz times what? dz all over what? dx. Okay? Now, the next is product rule. If your y, u, and v is what? A function of x, formula is what? V du dx plus what? U dv the what? X. And last, which is quotient rule. If your u and v is a function of x, formula is v du all over what? The x minus what? U dv all over what? The x. Then all over v raised to power what? 2. I haven't understood this. Please do yourself a favor to cram them. Okay? We need them. We will continue solving. It is also important for us to go straight to what? The general what? Principle or general what? Method for solving what? Differentiation. So I'm going to start wipe this off. Okay, now you can be asked, find the derivative. Number 1, find the derivative of the following. Okay, find the derivative of the following. Then it can give you something like this. Y is equal to what? 2x raised to power what? 3. This simply means we should differentiate this. Now, how do we differentiate it? We are simply going to what? Start with dy, which is the first alphabet here, all over what? Dx. Okay, now the simple rule for solving this is, first step, you are going to use the power to multiply what? Everything. So you are getting what? The power is 3 times what? 2x raised to power what? 3. Second step, minus the power by what? 1. All this is well understood. So in solving this, we are going to get something like 3 times this is what? Dy dx is equal to what? 6. This times this is 6. X. 3 minus 1 is what? 2. So this is what? Our answer. I hope you understand that. Now, I also want you to take note of this, that in differentiation, basically, we use majorly or many times we use what? Dy dx. But it does not necessarily mean you must be using dy dx anytime you want come across a question. Now, the principle simply follows. We are using d whatsoever variable that is given to us. Now, let's use another illustration. You can ask to find your m is equal to 6x. Okay, 6 r raised to power what? 2. Okay, now if you notice, the two variables there does not have m, does not have y and x. So to solve this, to differentiate this, the simple method is to what? The first alphabet m all over dr. So this is what? Derivative. Okay? Now, the m all over the arrow is simply what? What's the first step? Use the power to multiply everything. So it becomes 2 times what? 6 r raised to the power 2. Second step, minus the what? Power by what? 1. So we are having the n all over the arrow will be equal to what? 2 times this 12 arrow raised to power what? 1. Any number raised to power 1 is that number. So we are having what? 12 what? Arrow as an answer. Okay, now if you understand this, I'm going to make it a bit complicated because there are some kind of tricky questions that you need the knowledge of indices to be able to solve. So I will try as much as possible to touch all the questions that looks a bit tricky, okay, so that you have what? A full knowledge on what? Solving what? Differentiation. Now they can decide to give you something like this. C, y equal to x, 3x raised to power minus 2. Okay, and they will ask you to what? Solve this. Now, how do you solve this? Using the normal principle of what? Indices. To solve this, we are going to get something like the y dx is equal to the same principle minus 2 times what? 3. We give you what? Minus what? 2 times what? 3x raised to power what? Minus what? 2. Minus the power by what? 1. So this times this will give you what? Minus 2 minus 6x. Minus 2 minus 3 will give you what? Minus what? Minus 3. Okay, I hope you understand this. Then this, I will say this is your answer depending on the option. But this can also be broken down further. So this can simply indices, we have minus 6. This is what? Times 1 all over what? X raised to power what? 3. Minus 6 times 1 will definitely give you the y dx. Will give you minus 6 all over what? X raised to power what? 3. This will be what? Our final answer. Okay, I hope you understand this. So in a situation where they give you what? Stuff like what? Raised to power minus, you still apply the same formula, but at the end you try to what? Apply the law of what? Indices to break it down to your what? Final thing. Okay, now let's solve one more tricky question under this. Alright, assuming we are given something like this, y is equal to square root of 4 x raised to power 2. Now breaking this down, we have to first of all break this down before what? Differentiate. Okay, now this simply means root 4 times what? Root what? X raised to power what? 2. Root 4 is the same thing as what? 2. Root x raised to power 2. This cancel this, so we are having what? This. Okay, so we are to dy dx to what? X. Okay, now don't forget your x is having what? Raised to the power what? 1 here. So first step, use this the power to times this, which is what? This times this becomes what? 2. Second step, minus your power by what? 1, which will give you what? Raised to power what? 0. Now don't forget your x raised to power 0 or any number raised to power 0 is what? 1. So at the end we have what? 2 times what? 1, which is what? The y dx will be equal to what? 2. Okay, if you understand this, now we can go further. I also want to quickly add one last thing. Anytime you are differentiating a constant, right, it can give you differentiate y equal to what? 4. Your answer is always 0. Okay.